Good morning, Mr. Ferry. In today's lesson, I'll be explaining about the arrival of the European countries to the Nusantara and also their policies and effects to political, cultural, economy, social, and education level that they had influenced us, particularly Nusantara or Indonesia right now. So, as we all know that there are several European countries that has colonized our country, Indonesia, or before it was called as Nusantara. And the majority of the European country are Portugal, Spain, English, and Dutch. And the Portugal as the first, Spain second, English the third, Dutch as the fourth. And so maybe you were thinking, actually, um, who come and who steps our Nusantara. And so I have collected some of the data and several of the names. And so for Portugal, we have Bartolomeus Dias, Vasco da Gama, and Alfonso de Albuquerque. While for Spain, we have Christopher Columbus, Ferdinand Magellan, Juan Sebastian del Cano. And also, as the third, English, we have Sir Francis Drake, and also Thomas Cavendish. Lastly, Dutch or Netherlands, we have Cornelis de Houtman and Jacob van Eyck. And maybe we all might be thinking, why actually did the European country want to colonize us? And so it turns out that there are several factors affecting it. The first, well, of course, they want to find species. They want to find a place that can produce species such as cloves, pepper, and nutmeg. And the second one, which has a direct correlation with the species also, is the fall of Constantinople. And so at that time, actually, the Byzantium or the Constantinople is one of the center of the spice trade, and yes, the trading activity. And since the fall of it, now the European country doesn't have a fixed place to trade the species, to buy it, and to utilize everything. And so they want to find the place that could produce the species they needed. And now the third, which is actually quite unique. They want to prove that Earth is round by doing navigation, by doing traveling, sailing across the ocean. They want to prove it that Earth is round. Yes, so they really want to supervise and support the idea of the Copernicus about the geocentries. And now the fourth, it was affected by Marco Polo's journey, and also for the European country, they have 3G, especially for Dutch, Portugal, Spain, and England. Or British at the time, the gold, glory, and gospel. Gold is money, gospel is the spread of Christianity, while glory is colonialization and monopoly. And lastly, because of the advancement of navigation, such as the discovery in compass, they finally can travel and they can finally navigate through the ocean much better than before. Okay, so now we are going to discuss about the arrival of each of the country. The first one is Portugal. In 1487, Bartolomeus Dias circles the Cape of Hope, which is located in Africa, and enters the Indian Ocean. And also further out, in 1497, Vasco da Gama arrived in India, but it turns out that their goods were outcompeted with the Asian goods, with the Asian, such as the China and many other countries. In 1510, yes, Alfonso de Albuquerque finally could conquer Goa, and not long after, he also conquered Malacca. And maybe you will ask why actually he attacked Malacca and conquered it. Well, since Malacca, a Malaysian Sultanate at that time, Malaysian kingdom, it turns out that the Sultan was really scared and afraid and think that Alfonso de Albuquerque and the Portuguese sails is really dangerous and can be threatening. And so they have conflict and resulting in that war. Finally, not long after the war, which is in 1512, he then travels down to Nusantara in the northern Ambon, and he was really welcomed by the people there. because the Ambonian people was really impressed with the technique of war the Portuguese had. Then in 1522, finally they were allied with the Ternate. However, as time goes, Ternate was not really liking the Portugal, since Portugal is spreading the Christianity, or one of the mission of the Treaty, which is the gospel, while actually the Ternate kingdom is a Islam-based kingdom, Islam religion. And also they were too involved with the problems that the kingdom has. And finally, the Portuguese fall in the Maluku and the Ternate in 1605 when VOC finally stands. Now we go to the next one, which is Spain. So Spain, particularly Juan Sebastian Elcano, in 8 November 1521 goes to Tidore, a neighboring island to the Ternate. And because of this, as you might guess, Ternate and Tidore has conflict, and also now Spain and Portugal has conflict. And because of this meeting, this is actually the formation of Zaragoza Treaty in 1529. So actually this is how the treaty was formed. And the contents, it consists, the first statement is, Spanyol must leave Maluku, or Spain must leave Maluku, since Portuguese is the one that find and discover it the first. The next one, the second, Spain may go to Philippines and build their base and headquarters there, but not in Maluku. And the last, Portuguese can and must stay in Maluku and do the free trade or the monopoly of the species. Now we go to the third one, which is English. So yes, for the English one, they just follow the Magellan lane, Ferdinand Magellan, which is actually, yes, the Spain one. And so in 1579, Sir Francis Drake finally came, and he bring the species from Ternate and came back to English through the Indian Ocean. And it was followed by Sir Thomas Cavendish by 1586 with the same concept and sailing path. Now we are going to the Dutch or Netherlands in 1596. So in the year of 1596, Cornelis de Houtman finally arrived in Banten. And it turns out that Banten is the biggest pepper port in the West Java. However, because of the bad attitude Cornelis de Houtman had, he was not welcome and he stepped out from Banten. How eventually he wants to come again 2 years after, which is in 1598. Again, however, well, finally he was welcomed, but it was not profitable, and finally he stepped back. And yes, however, the sailing path that the Cornelis de Houtman discovered and how he could arrive to the Banten brings another Netherlands or Dutch sailor to go to Nusantara, able to go to it, yes, which is Jacob van Eyck. So in 1599, Jacob van Eyck finally utilizing the sailing path of the Houtman to go to Nusantara, and he reached the Spice Island, which is Maluku, and came back to the Dutch around the year 1599 until 1600 with a profit of 400%, which is astonishing. And because of that big profit, finally the Dutch decides to build a company, which is called now VOC, and it was built in 1602. And Portuguese was really annoyed because of this company, since now they cannot monopolize anymore. And even worse, in 1605, its castle were attacked and destroyed by the VOC. And so Portuguese stepped back and fall down in the Maluku. Okay, now we are going to talk about the impact. So the impact of each country, yes, each colonization is not really huge beside Dutch, because for example the Portuguese, Spain, and English and or British, they do not really colonize us really long, and so there were only a few influence. And yes, as we all also know that Portuguese and Spain only particularly dominated the Maluku area, and they actually did not really go anywhere beside that. And so Portugal actually make several policies, particularly about in the Maluku and the Ternate Kingdom, about the species trading. So the first one is the monopoly system about the trading of nutmeg and also cloves in Ternate. The second one, they want to try to spread the Catholic religion in the areas that they rules or sovereign. And the last, they want to develop and introduce their language and also their music. If you know keroncong, yes, that one. Okay, so now we are going to talk about the English. So yes, English. Well, as you might guess, that English actually has a company similar to VOC, which is named EIC, East India Company. However, it was not really influential to Nusantara since actually the EIC was really pressed out by the VOC power. Because VOC power, from the Dutch, was really huge at that time to the Nusantara, and so other competitors will not be able to develop. And so finally, the British decided to get out from Nusantara, and then they moved out to India and this Southern Asia rather than going to Nusantara. Okay, so another extra information, EIC stands for East India Company, and it is also a trading company of the British corporate, and its aim is to monopolize the East Indian area, such as, so actually its aims is really like VOC, and that's why actually both VOC and EIC like compete each other. And why I said that EIC is one of the biggest competitor VOC had, because actually EIC also has a lot of ships and mans, and it was not small, it was also huge like VOC. And even their species, their trading is 1/5 with the VOC. So if VOC have 100 species, then EIC have 20. So, well, maybe you think it's huge, but at the time, there's no other competitors that is as huge also as EIC. And so that's why EIC could compete with VOC. Yes. And because EIC does not have any direct influence to Nusantara, it actually have several policies in the areas that they control, such as in India, which is the absolute trading is belong to British. And the second one is India will be the the country that should support British, and British will always rule India. So like under country. So yes, it's like the if you say it's like an employment. Yes, so India is like employed to the British. Okay. Now we'll go to the biggest one that influence and do really impacts Nusantara, which is VOC. So VOC stands for Verenigde Oostindische Compagnie or company, or in English simply Dutch East India Company, and its omzet almost reached 8 trillion USD. It is really huge. Even another fact that actually VOC is the richest company in this world until today, because even Apple and Facebook, like it almost surpassed 1 trillion USD, but even 1 and 8 is a huge number. The difference is huge. And what makes VOC actually really, really special in Nusantara, since it has octroi rights. And octroi actually consists of two categories of the rights they have, which is monopoly and sovereignty. And so actually generally their aim is, of course, to colonize and dominate Nusantara. And in here I've made the list of 6 famous rulers in VOC in Nusantara. The first one is Peter Both, second Jan Pieter Zoon-Koen, third Herman William Daendels, fourth Thomas Stafford Raffles, fifth Van der Capellen, and sixth Van der Bosch. However, I will be focused to Daendels and Raffles more, since they have their own rules, policies, and also their own changes. So for Daendels first, he actually builds the road from Anyer to Panarukan, and now we called it Jalan Raya Pos. And so he also built small port, like small ship port in Surabaya. He also built a weapon factory in Semarang, well, of course, to support the VOC needs of the guns to fight back maybe to fight back the war, because actually at that time the situation around the globe was really intense and hot. So yes, defense of the army is really needed. And also they built castle in Jakarta and Surabaya for enhancing their defense. Now for Raffles, he actually had several changes in the political, economical, social, cultural, and several sectors. So for the political sectors, he divided the Java Island into 16 administrative areas. Yes, and also the economy, he introduced the currency, the new currency, and also he erased the tax of the land of the earth. Yes, for example, you cultivate species, then before Raffles stands, you must pay for it and something, and you must pay the tax for cultivating it. Now he erased it. And the third one, which is the social and science, he discovered the Rafflesia Arnoldi, Candi Borobudur, Kebun Raya Bogor, and he also write the history of Java about the Javanian island. And also he support Batavia Genootschap, which is actually an organization particularly relating about science in the Nusantara. And lastly, about the social sector, he erased the Rodi. If you don't know Rodi is a slavery. And so and slavery was made in the Daendels era, and so he erased it and people were free. Okay, so I think that's all I can give now. I don't want to go deeper, and thank you for watching, and hope this knowledge will help you further out more. Thank you.